Hi friends, I'm excited to share a new layout with you today for the Shimmerz Paints design team using the February Color Kitz. I started with an interlocking heart cut file on the background, and I took the different sprays that are in the February Color Kitz. There's two pinks, a colorings and a vibes, and then there's also a color splash that is red, cardinal sin. And I took all three of those and sprayed those on that cut file while it was on my cutting mat. The purpose of that is to help the cardstock, because I was just using regular white cardstock, not mixed media cardstock or anything. So the purpose of leaving it on that cutting mat is to help the cardstock maintain its shape. So if you just take a piece of paper and you start spraying a whole bunch of things and putting a lot of wet medium on it, it's going to curl up and, do some weird things, warp and all of that. So by leaving it on the cutting mat, it helped it kind of maintain its shape. And then what I'm doing here is I took the One Hot Mama Creamies with my paintbrush and went around and kind of outlined some of those outer hearts. And then I started taking off the inner pieces of that cut file so that it didn't get stuck to the outer pieces. And then I had to be very delicate in taking the cut file off. It's actually better if you let it dry on the mat, but then sometimes it kind of sticks to it. So you have to be, it's kind of like a hit or miss kind of thing there, but it definitely helps the image stay flatter and stay intact. So I pulled it up while it was still a little bit wet, and I did tear it in a couple of places, but it doesn't matter. I glue it to the background and everything looks good. And two of the places were covered up by photos anyway. So it is not a problem. And then here, what I'm going to do is I am going to use the piece of plastic that I had pulled out earlier, thinking I was going to use it on the hearts, and I just used my brush. But here I'm going to use that little piece of plastic, and I'm going to use the packaging technique where you put some color on and you take it and you smush it on the background. So I love how that looks. I'm using the One Hot Mama Creamies to add some pink to that background in between all of the hearts. And that is going to act as kind of like the resting point for my photos. So, and then the clusters of hearts that I'm going to be adding. So then I used my paintbrush. After I used the packaging technique, I used my paintbrush to kind of go and make sure that all of the spots looked like I wanted it to. Because when you're using the packaging technique with a cut file already down, it's kind of hard to get in the edges and the crevices because the cut file kind of is raised just a touch. So I had to kind of be strategic there with my paintbrush and getting all of that color in there. And then I'm using 6 photos. All of these 6 photos are from Valentine's Day of last year. If you follow my channel and you watch my videos, you've seen me post a previous layout of Valentine's Day last year. So I've done several different pages. And this page is really, I wanted to get all of the photos of the treats that my husband put out for my kids and I for when we got home on Valentine's Day. So these photos are not really people centered. They're more, my son is in a couple of the photos. He just kind of happens to be standing there, but I wanted to be able to remember that there was a beautiful floral bouquet and there were balloons and all of our favorite things to eat when we came up the stairs. And so I wanted to make sure that all of those photos were in the album. So I took the 6 photos. I did print them small. They're 2x2. And then I matted them on a piece of white cardstock. And then I matted that on that cute pink and white polka dot paper from the February Color Kitz. So that was a Shimmerz patterned paper. And then here I am taking this little XOXO wooden piece. It's like a wooden veneer. And this was just, I can't even tell you where I got it. Like maybe at one of the local craft stores. It was kind of a set of, and it wasn't like a brand name or anything that you would recognize. And but I thought it was super cute and it took the color really well. So I used the Color Splash Cardinal Sin on that to paint it. And then here what I'm doing is I am taking that paper that I created for the last Shimmerz layout, my 1st February Shimmerz layout, and I had made this paper full of color and layers of layers of mediums, all of the layers of the mediums that are in the February Color Kitz. And I had a bunch of it left over. So what I ended up doing is going and tracing some hearts and cutting those out and using those on this layout so that I didn't waste all of that paper that I had made. And I love those hearts and the texture that they have and the color and the dimension and all of the things. So I'm going to be using those again. And then the wood veneer piece that I painted with the red, I then mounted it on a piece of black cardstock because I did spend some time, that wood veneer title was very thick. And so I took my X-OXO knife and went and sliced kind of like a layer off. So I actually ended up breaking it in one place, but it doesn't matter because I was able to glue it back together, and then I mounted it on this piece of black cardstock that I then cut around, and it worked out perfectly. You can't tell that I broke it, and it's thin enough that I'm going to be able to close my scrapbook album once it's in there because it was very thick, and I did toy with the idea of keeping it like that, but if you follow my channel, you know that I'm working really hard on not making my layouts too thick so that I can only fit a few layouts in an album. So I'm really focused on that here lately, and I was able to kind of manipulate that piece to make it work. So then I went through, not only am I going to be using the hearts that I had made using all of the colors in the kits, I then went through my stash and pulled out a bunch of hearts that I'm going to add to the layout that I loved. Like, so some of these hearts are like little shaker hearts that have sequins in them. And then I have other puffy hearts, and I've got some wooden hearts that almost look like the Conversation Hearts candy. And so I pulled out a bunch of different things, and I'm going to kind of layer those in. I did do some tangled thread here. You saw me do. And most of the embellishments that I add, almost all of them, are from Pink Fresh and crepe paper. So I also have some kind of crystally, they're almost like flare pieces, but they're a little bit harder than flare. They're plastic, and I've got it in my hands right there. It's a really cool little sheet of embellishments. So I add those in several places. And then I also took this little sheet from Pink Fresh, had all different sizes and colors, or pinks and red shades of hearts. And then it also had XOXO all over it. So I'm going to use a couple of those little puffy XOXO up there. And that was perfect because the balloons that my husband got, it's kind of hard to tell, but in the top left photo on the layout, he had giant balloons that said XOXO hanging in the room where all of our treats were. So that was a perfect title for the layout to go with those decorations. And then now I'm just going to start adding little hearts in the two clusters. So the top left and then the middle right. And I just want a layered look. So I just keep adding until it looks like, or it feels like it's finished to me. And I did try to balance the red. So my photos have a lot of deep red in them, and it was a very vivid color. And the background that I had created so far with the hearts and then the packaging technique was kind of a lot lighter red, like a lighter pink, a gentler pink. And so I wanted the embellishments that I added to be more red heavy because I wanted them to be able to balance with my photos. So you'll see I am adding some pink things as well. I have some light pink hearts, and the Conversation hearts are light pink. I've got several little pink embellishments, but predominantly I'm trying to use more red tones to help balance the vividness of the photos. I still want the photos to stand out, but I don't want them to stand out like a sore thumb. So I was trying to make sure that all of the color was balanced here. And then I thought the black, kind of the black embellishments and kind of touches of black helped also balance the color of the photos, like the saturation of the photos. And I just love black and red and white together. So that also is another reason I did it. So I add XOXO in a couple of little places, and then up there at the top of the screen in the top left, you can kind of see that I've poured out little black things. They kind of look like ants right now, but those are sequins that are XOXO that I just had from my stash. I think I actually got them in the dollar spot at Target a long time ago, if I'm remembering correctly. So I've got a whole jar of them that will last an entire lifetime because there's literally thousands and thousands of little X's and O's in there. So I could never use all of them. So I did try to incorporate those in the layout, and I also tried to add, I added thread in several different places, and I was trying to make sure I was balancing where the embellishments are on either side and kind of making sure everything speaks to each other. And definitely when I look at the final layout, I see love. So that's what I wanted. That's how I felt on Valentine's Day of last year. We felt very, very loved and kind of over the top spoiled. And so I wanted this layout to kind of speak to that, like kind of over the top love. So, and I just love a good Valentine's layout. This is, I think this is going to be my last Valentine's layout for this year. So I was having fun adding all of the little pieces. And as I add, I kind of see, okay, like little places that I need to add a little bit more. And then I added off camera. I thought I had filmed it, but I didn't. I went and added lines inside of that heart all the way to the right and added my journaling in there. And then right now I'm taking the color splash, the cardinal sin, and splattering some red splatters on the background. I kind of got a rogue little dot there. It didn't end up being a big problem. I got a few more right there, and then I ended up deciding, okay, I'm going to leave those there. And then off camera, I do add some splatters of black acrylic paint. I did not catch that on camera, and I do it after all the filming is done. So you'll see it on the final layout that I add some black splatters. And then pops of color in 3 different colors. And that is the finished layout. And you can kind of see the details and layers as you zoom in, or as I zoom in on the photos, you can kind of see all those different parts. And I hope you enjoyed the process. As always, if you place a Shimmerz order with shimmerzpaints.com, be sure and add my name, Sarah Millerhouse, to the comment section, and you will get a free paint. That's always super fun to receive a free treat. And I hope you guys have a great week and get some time to create. Bye for now.